After the age of 60, the body doesn't bounce back as quickly as it used to. That doesn't mean you're getting weaker. It simply means your body needs to be cared for in a different way. Yet many older adults are still in the habit of pushing through, trying to keep up with everything, trying not to let anyone see they're tired, until signs of overload start to appear quietly and gradually. What's remarkable is that the body usually speaks up earlier than we think. It doesn't wait until you're completely exhausted to send a message. The question is, are we listening? In this video, we'll explore 5 early signs that your body may be asking for more rest, even when you think you're doing just fine. These signs may feel subtle or vague, but if recognized in time, they can help you avoid prolonged fatigue, chronic stress, and even more serious health issues down the line. And if you stay until the end of the video, you'll not only learn how to recognize the signals your body is sending, you'll also discover gentle, effective ways to adjust your pace so you can rest more, stay strong, and live each day more fully. If you're enjoying this content, comment 1 below to let me know you're here. If not, comment 0, and I'll work harder to bring you even better content. Now let's start it. Sign 1. You feel sleepy during the day, even though you got enough sleep at night. One of the most common but often overlooked signs after age 60 is persistent daytime sleepiness, even when you believe you've had a full night's rest. This happens to many older adults, yet it's frequently dismissed or misunderstood as laziness, lack of activity, or simply slowing down after retirement. I once spoke with a woman named Evelyn, 72, living in Minnesota. She told me that for years she maintained a steady routine, asleep by 9 p.m., awake at 6 a.m., eating regular meals, even doing some light exercise. But recently, by 10 in the morning, her eyelids would already feel heavy. By noon, she could barely resist the urge to lie down, even if she'd only planned to rest for a moment. What surprised her was that this fatigue didn't come from overexertion or lack of sleep. It felt like a natural response from her body, despite her consistent daily rhythm. The truth is, sleeping long enough doesn't always mean your body has fully recovered. After age 60, our natural sleep cycle begins to shift. Melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, gradually decreases over time, making sleep lighter and more easily disrupted. Deep sleep stages, when the body does most essential repair work, also become shorter. So even if you sleep for 7 or 8 hours, your brain and nervous system might still not have reached a state of full rest. On top of that, the aging body becomes more sensitive to small disturbances. Soft noises, subtle changes in room temperature, or discomfort in the back, shoulders, or neck can cause frequent awakenings, often without you realizing it. So when you wake up in the morning, you may think you've slept, but the quality of that sleep may not be what it once was. As a result, your body tries to reclaim what it's missed. That midday drowsiness is your body's natural way of saying, "I need to catch up." If ignored, that fatigue can build up, leading to reduced alertness, concentration, energy levels, and even affecting memory or mood over time. The good news is, you don't have to push through this as an unavoidable part of aging. Taking short, quality breaks during the day, just 15 to 20 minutes, can help restore energy, improve cognitive function, and lift your overall mental state. Try resting after lunch. You don't need to fall into a deep sleep. Just lie down in a quiet space, close your eyes, and relax your body. Or simply sit in a comfortable chair with soft music, no phone, no conversation. That alone is enough to reset your nervous system and leave you feeling lighter and clearer for the rest of the day. And most importantly, don't blame yourself for feeling sleepy. It's not a sign of weakness. It's your body's quiet way of saying, "I've carried you for a long time, and now I just need a little rest." Sign 2. You become irritable, sensitive, or overthink small things. Fatigue doesn't always show up as aches or sleepiness. One early sign that's often misunderstood is mood swings, feeling irritable over small things, becoming unusually sensitive, or fixating on a past event without being able to let it go. I once heard from Carla, 69, living in California. She shared that she'd recently found herself snapping at her husband just because he forgot his keys or slammed the cabinet too loudly. "I know it's nothing," she said, "but in the moment, I just couldn't stand it." Sometimes she would feel hurt just because her daughter took a few hours to reply to a message. "I don't know why I'm reacting this way," she said. "In my mind, I know it's not a big deal, but in my heart, it still feels heavy." These kinds of emotional reactions aren't signs of being dramatic or losing self-control, as some might think. In truth, they're subtle neurological signals that the body and brain are tired and don't have the energy they once did to manage emotions smoothly. When the body isn't fully rested, the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for emotional regulation and reasoning, starts to function less efficiently. That makes it harder to stay calm, easier to overreact, or to spiral into negative thoughts over a small detail. At the same time, the sympathetic nervous system, the stress and react system, becomes more easily triggered, making you feel like you're constantly on edge, even when nothing major is happening. What's important to understand is this: moodiness in older age is not necessarily a sign of a mental health issue. In many cases, it's simply the result of prolonged exhaustion. And what your body may need most is not medication, but pause. A real, intentional kind of rest. Notice whether your irritability tends to surface in the afternoon or after long stretches without a break, or whether you feel more emotionally fragile on days with poor sleep, too much noise, or after trying to please too many people. If so, it might be time to give yourself permission to rest before you're completely drained, not after you've pushed through, just a little more. And rest doesn't always mean lying down. Sometimes it's 10 minutes of uninterrupted silence. It's stepping away for a moment without needing to think or explain. It's sipping a glass of water slowly without multitasking. These small things can gently restore your emotional energy before your body has to shout to get your attention. So next time you find yourself snapping over something tiny, don't rush to blame yourself. It may not be a flaw in you. It may simply be your body's quiet way of saying, I need a moment to breathe. Sign 3. You start to forget things or have trouble concentrating, especially in the afternoon. There's a kind of fatigue that doesn't come from your muscles and can't be measured by a thermometer or blood pressure cuff. It shows up when your mind can no longer keep its flow like it used to. You start forgetting where you left your keys, whether you turned off the stove, or you read a page in a book and realize you can't remember a single word of it. Lorraine, 66, from Arizona, once shared that she found it very difficult to stay focused on housework in the afternoons. I'm fine in the mornings, she said, but by around 3 p.m., I lose steam. I forget the next step in a recipe, or I'll walk into a room and stop because I can't remember what I came in for. Many people are quick to blame this on age. And yes, short-term memory does tend to fade over time. But what often goes unnoticed is that this kind of mental fuzziness is frequently tied to a lack of full recovery in the body. The brain consumes about 20% of the body's total energy, and after age 60, its ability to regenerate that energy through sleep, rest, and a steady daily rhythm begins to decline. So if you go through long days without real breaks or live under chronic stress, your brain will start to slow down to conserve energy. Your cognitive efficiency drops, not because your memory is failing, but because your brain is protecting you from burnout. The clearest sign is this: you can still recall big things. Your grandchild's birthday, a story from years ago, but you forget what you were just about to say, or you can't stay focused on what you're doing for very long. The good news is that this can be greatly improved by building in intentional brain breaks throughout the day. This doesn't mean you have to nap. It could simply be 10 to 15 minutes of no talking, no tasks, no new information, just breathing, observing, or doing something light and repetitive like folding laundry or watering plants. If you notice that your mind often goes blank or drifts at a certain time each day, especially in the afternoon, it's not necessarily a serious health issue. It's your brain gently saying, I'm slowing down to keep you safe. And when you give yourself permission to pause, even just a little, you'll notice that your memory, clarity, and even your mood will begin to return, quietly and exactly when you need them most. Sign 4. Your body recovers more slowly from activities that were once considered light. After turning 60, there's something many people begin to notice, though few are willing to admit it. Tasks that once felt light now leave the body tired for longer, take more time to recover from, and drain your energy more easily. Things like mopping the floor, standing in the kitchen to cook, walking around shopping for a few hours, or even spending an afternoon playing with the grandkids. Richard, 71, from Oregon, shared that just one lap around the park with his grandson is enough to leave his calves tight and sore when he gets home. The next day, he still feels a mild ache in his back and knees. He didn't experience this in his 50s or even early 60s, but in recent years, just a day out is enough to require a full morning of rest afterward. That's because after 60, your muscles and joints don't recover as quickly as they once did. Circulation slows down, muscles lose elasticity, and small injuries, like light strains or inflammation, take longer to heal. Plus, a drop in growth hormone and testosterone reduces tissue regeneration, which is something you'll feel clearly in the form of lingering soreness after even mild exertion. This is your body's way of saying, you can still do it, but you need more rest to bounce back. Fatigue itself isn't the problem. The real issue is fatigue that lingers without recovery. That's when aches, stiffness, and the desire to just lie down begin to shape your everyday rhythm. If you find yourself needing more time to bounce back after activities that used to be effortless, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a signal that your body is spending more but recharging less. The good news is, you don't need to stop being active. You just need to slow the pace a bit. Instead of going to the store and then immediately cleaning the house, pause for 15 minutes between tasks. After taking the grandkids out to play, soak your feet in warm water for 10 minutes and breathe deeply before dinner. These little breaks give your muscles, joints, and nervous system the space they need to reset, and you'll feel less soreness and more joy. And if someone says that's nothing, how could you be tired from that? You can simply smile and think to yourself, yes, it's a small task, but my body has carried me for over 60 years. It deserves a little more rest. Sign 5. You gradually lose interest in activities that used to make you happy. Not all fatigue shows up in the body. Sometimes there's no pain, no physical exhaustion, but inside, you feel empty, unmotivated, or simply not interested in things you used to enjoy. Maybe it's gardening, morning walks, calling a friend, cooking a special meal, or picking up a book you were halfway through. You're not exactly sad, and it's not full-blown boredom. You just don't feel like doing anything. Teresa, 68, from Pennsylvania, shared that she no longer feels excited about tending to the flower pots on her porch. It used to be that a sunny morning was all she needed to step outside. Water the plants, check for pests, trim a few leaves, no reminders, just joy. Lately, she notices the plants drying out, but doesn't feel moved to act. It's not that I'm sad, she said. I just don't feel the spark. This is a kind of fatigue rooted in emotional energy, a subtle depletion that's often mistaken for depression. But more often, it's simply a sign that the body and mind are running low. When rest is lacking, physically and mentally, your nervous system slows down the production of dopamine, the brain chemical responsible for motivation, pleasure, and that spark of joy in everyday life. When dopamine drops, everything feels a little flat. What once lit you up now just feels ordinary. Things that brought joy become, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. And over time, this can lead to a sense of just moving through the motions without anything to look forward to. If you find yourself in that place, don't jump to the conclusion that you're too old, burned out, or facing a serious emotional issue. It might just be that you haven't given yourself full permission to truly rest in a long time. In many cases, a deep enough rest, a few days of doing nothing, letting go of routine, not forcing yourself to stay on track, can be enough to recharge your emotional energy. Joy comes back naturally when your body and mind return to a rhythm that matches this chapter of life. And you are absolutely allowed to do that. No one expects you to always be cheerful, always have a plan, or always be productive. After more than 60 years of living, you don't have to earn your worth through activity. You simply have to be here and feel at peace in the quiet you've created for yourself. The body after 60 is no longer the sturdy machine it was in youth. But that doesn't mean it's breaking down. It's simply changing the way it operates, the way it recovers, and the way it speaks to you. And the most important thing now is not how much you can still do, but whether you're gentle enough to recognize when it's time to pause. The 5 signs we just talked about aren't meant to make you worried or afraid. They are simply quiet reminders that your body is still working every day, just more quietly, more slowly, and with a need for more care than before. Not because it's weak, but because it has carried you so far, and now it's asking for tenderness in return. If you felt unusually sleepy during the day, quick to irritate, or uninspired by things you used to love, try pausing. Not to criticize yourself, but to ask, what is my body asking for right now? And if the answer is a little rest, then you have every right to give yourself that. No apologies, no shame, just slowing down enough to remember you're still living, not just getting through the day. If this video helped you better understand yourself, please click like to support the channel and hit subscribe if you want to keep receiving gentle, thoughtful reflections like this. And if you have a loved one, a friend, or someone who's been feeling drained without knowing why, send this video to them. As a quiet message that rest is not weakness, it's the first step toward healing. Thank you for staying until the very end. wishing you a moment of stillness each day to breathe and a body light enough to smile.